No one expected the collapse to begin with something as small as a forgotten envelope on the doormat. But that's how silent tragedies start in today's UK. A cold, impersonal, brutal warning. Rent hikes outpacing an entire year's pension adjustment. For many, it's just another letter. For millions of older Britons, it's the start of a cruel countdown. It's the warning that the country they built with hard work, discipline, and dignity is slipping away, as if someone decided modern Britain has no room for those who sustained it for decades. And while Starmer poses for cameras talking of progress and modernization, what reaches their homes is a different reality. A relentless, merciless system that never looks back before crushing those who deserve stability most. The shock isn't just economic, it's emotional. It's the devastating realization that their own country is turning its back, and those who bore wars, recessions, and losses must now bear alone the weight of a crisis created by policies moving London at a speed the older generation never asked for, nor can keep up with. And that's where the deepest wound begins. The crushing speed. Everything changes too fast, rises too fast, disappears too fast. What once took months now shifts in hours. Property listings vanish before they're even read. Fees spike before anyone can grasp the last change. The country has become a machine pulsing without pause, while the generation that kept England, Scotland, and Wales standing still believes, or believed, that planning and prudence were enough to secure a peaceful old age. But today, even the most organized retirees live with their hearts in their throats, wondering if the next envelope will be the one that finally backs them into a corner. The cruelty isn't just in the numbers, but in the feeling of being left behind in their own homes. And the truth no one in government dares admit is simple. Under Starmer's reckless, breakneck pace, the country is becoming a place where the elderly are forced to run just to keep from falling, even when they should be resting after a lifetime of carrying burdens now abandoned them. The cruelest blow doesn't come just from the bills, but from the surprises that arrive without warning, like the letter thousands of retirees are receiving about the end of their fixed-rate mortgages. For a young family, this is already a huge problem. For a couple in their 70s, it's an earthquake. After all, they don't have decades to recover, no way to increase income, no way to play the market. When a letter like that arrives, it carries something far greater than numbers. It carries the threat of losing the last shred of stability they had left. And all because the government sped up changes without considering those who depend on predictability to survive. The truth is, Starmer governs as if everyone were 25 with perfect health, when the reality is that millions of older Britons need a country that respects their pace, not one that pushes them into the abyss while boasting of reforms no one asked for. And as they struggle to hold on to what they built over a lifetime, they watch their surroundings transform at a speed that feels almost violent. Streets once stable now have empty houses, shuttered windows, for sale signs rusting in the rain. Families who plan to age in the same neighborhood are being priced out by uncontrollable costs. Young people leave because they can't afford rent. Shops that survived recessions close because they simply can't keep up with the bills. The country is unraveling before the eyes of the generation that worked hardest for it, and the government pretends not to see. For the elderly, this isn't just the end of an economic cycle. It's the devastating sense that everything they knew, the neighbors, the routines, the neighborhood, the memories, is being erased as if it never existed. But the deepest blow isn't material. It's emotional. It's looking at your own neighborhood and feeling that something essential is lost. It's realizing that the country once synonymous with stability now vibrates like a runaway train. Too fast, too loud, too unstable. The elderly feel this in the silence of their homes, on supermarket shelves where prices change overnight, in conversations with neighbors who don't know if they'll still be there next month. And with every unexpected change, every new fee, every rushed and poorly explained policy, the same question echoes, why are we being left behind now? It's not an imagined feeling, it's real. Because the hard truth, the one the government tries to hide behind empty speeches, is that Starmer's decisions have accelerated the country like a machine with no tolerance for those who need more time to understand or adjust. And in this frenetic pace, the elderly suffer most. Not for lack of ability, but because the current model is built for a world that doesn't respect the value of experience or the weight of wisdom. Everything has become immediacy. Decisions in minutes, changes in hours, losses in seconds. The system seems made for hyper-connected youth, not for those who spent half their lives filling out forms by post, paying bills at the bank, and planning everything with care. And this creates a silent pain, the feeling of no longer belonging in their own country. A country they built with sacrifice, discipline, work, and respect. A country that now moves so fast it doesn't even glance at those who once carried its bricks. Before I go on, I need to ask you something important. If you believe the elderly of this country deserve respect, dignity, and stability, something this government clearly does not provide, then subscribe to the channel and leave a like now. This helps the content reach more Britons who refuse to accept the chaos they're trying to normalize. Your subscription strengthens a community unafraid to speak the truth. And when this feeling starts to grow, it seeps into even the simplest daily tasks. It's the hesitation before turning on the heating, fearing another outrageous bill. It's the endless price comparisons at the supermarket, trying to stretch each pound like elastic. It's the painful decision to cancel a family visit because train fares have risen again. Not out of luxury, but survival. Every choice becomes an emotional calculation. Every step, a silent renunciation. And all the while, Starmer appears on TV talking of advances and modernization, completely ignoring the human impact of his rushed policies. For the generation that always believed responsibility and planning were enough, the reality imposed by this government is almost a moral betrayal. The country is moving too fast, and not forward. It's moving away from them. And in the midst of this silent storm, there's an even more invisible pain. The weight of not wanting to worry anyone. The older generation was raised to endure, not to complain. So they smile, say everything's fine, change the subject. But inside, they carry fears no leader should ignore. Their loneliness isn't physical, it's emotional. It's being surrounded by people, but feeling out of place in a country that changed without warning. It's hearing conversations about rates, interest, investments, and feeling that all this now belongs to a world that doesn't speak their reality. It's the shame of asking a question at the bank and realizing no one has the patience to explain calmly. An elderly person's loneliness doesn't come from lack of company. It comes from the feeling that no one speaks their language anymore. And this loneliness, silent and heavy, grows precisely because the world around them has become too fast to listen. It's as if the whole country hit fast forward without asking if everyone was ready to keep up. The elderly don't fear technology, change, or adaptation. They fear being left behind by a government that never looks back. Starmer speaks as if everyone lived in a world of apps, notifications, and constant urgency. But the reality for older Britons is different. They need clarity, time, stability. Things this government has stripped away without hesitation. And while ministers celebrate graphs and statistics, it's the retirees who pay the real price. Sleepless nights, fear of opening the mail, shame in admitting they can't keep up with a system that seem to punish those who contributed most to the country politicians claim to defend. And what hurts most is the realization that courage, the same courage that guided them for decades, is no longer enough to face a country thrown into disarray by its own government. In the past, discipline, hard work, and prudence were enough to build a solid life. Today, these qualities are no longer rewarded. The system has changed so fast that neither experience, nor moral strength, nor patience can protect anyone from sudden hikes, unstable policies, and decisions made by leaders living in a parallel universe. It's as if decades of sacrifice were erased with a stroke of a pen. The UK they helped build is being reshaped at an inhuman speed, and the government still expects the elderly to simply keep up, as if it were easy, as if it were fair, as if it were possible. And let me know in the comments, from which part of the UK are you watching this video? England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland? I want to know how far this message is reaching, and how things are in your region. And then comes the cruelest moment, when an entire country forces its older citizens to make choices they should never have to face at this stage of life. Downsizing isn't just moving to a smaller house. It's abandoning the home where your children grew up, where every wall holds a memory, where every piece of furniture carries decades of meaning. It's trading history for numbers. It's looking at objects that have accompanied a whole life and asking, what can I still keep? All because of fees, taxes, and policies that should never have been pushed onto those who gave everything to the country. And while these families live this silent pain, Starmer continues to speak as if it were all a simple matter of adaptation, as if it were easy to abandon years of life because the government lost control of the economy. For many elderly, it's not the house at risk, it's their identity, their past, their sense of belonging. And behind this pain lies an even darker truth. No one should be forced to reinvent their life at 70 to fix mistakes made by politicians sheltered in marble offices. The older generation is being pushed into choices that aren't choices. They're desperate rescues. Stay or leave? Fight or surrender? Sacrifice memories or sacrifice dignity? These questions should never exist for those who faced wars, economic crises, pandemics, and losses. These Britons built the country brick by brick, paid taxes for decades, sustained the UK in its darkest hours, and now, when they should have tranquility, they're treated as obstacles in a rushed political project. This isn't politics, it's disrespect. It's institutionalized ingratitude. And when all this finally comes together, the fear, the loneliness, the loss, the pressure, the truth no one in government wants to admit emerges. Stability in old age isn't a luxury, it's a moral right. A country proud of its history cannot abandon those who carried that history on their backs. But that's exactly what's happening under Starmer's administration. He accelerates the country as if driving a race car, completely ignoring that millions of older Britons need stable roads, not dangerous curves. With every rushed policy, every cost increase, every impulsive change, a part of the UK is left behind. And it's not the connected youth, but the elderly who built the nation's economic, cultural, and moral foundation. When even they start to feel like foreigners in their own country, the problem isn't economic, it's civilizational. In the end, what's at stake isn't just money, fees, or contracts. It's the very soul of the United Kingdom. A nation is measured not by the wealth of its leaders, but by how it treats those who fought for it, worked for it, and aged believing in it. If there's one truth this crisis has laid bare, it's this. The country is failing its most valuable generation. The government celebrates statistics, while citizens who dedicated their lives to the UK struggle to keep the heating on. And if the UK wants a future that's dignified, strong, and proud, it must remember something simple and powerful. The elderly carried this nation on their shoulders for decades. Now it's the nation's turn to carry them, not abandon them.